Chille DeCastro's demand to have lawsuit against Blue Bacon dismissed is delayed. All hearings on dismissal, sanctions, and possible summary judgment delayed until May. Is he living his best life by again delaying his own lawsuit? Will Karen Reed's own interviews doom her? Jurors hear snippet of interview where Reed says she was buzzed while driving the night of John O'Keefe's death. Jury set to view crime scene today. Plus, Lane Myers forces own attorney to withdraw. Will face charges on his own. I'm Pants. You're an extra special and gorgeous shade of groovy, and this is Auditing Insanity. Lane Myers' defense attorney withdraws. YouTube viewers, please click the text link in the description of this video to access documents related to this news story. Fans of YouTuber Lane Myers celebrated on Thursday as news spread that he had indeed dismissed public defender William Parvin as both his advisory counsel and his counsel in the two sets of charges he is facing in Pima County, Arizona. Parvin announced in one of two motions filed on Thursday, Counsel William J. Parvin hereby moves this court to withdraw him as attorney of record so that Mr. Myers can represent himself. Mr. Myers has informed counsel that he no longer desires any counsel, advisory, or otherwise. Mr. Myers very clearly wants to represent himself. Mr. Myers wants to file his own motions. Mr. Myers is self-trained in the law. While counsel has advised Mr. Myers on motions that might be appropriate to file and has filed motions in this case, those discussions have occurred and motions have been filed. In fact, it has been requested that counsel withdraw the last pending motion so Mr. Myers can file his motions instead. Mr. Myers has a right to represent himself, and counsel does not want to interfere with this right. It is now believed that even acting as advisory counsel will interfere with Mr. Myers' right to self-representation. Mr. Myers informed counsel at the jail to file this motion immediately, and that the issue be heard immediately or at soonest possible time and date. Furthermore, once counsel is withdrawn, it is requested that the state provide disclosure to Mr. Myers at the Pima County Jail. It is requested that the state make arrangements for Mr. Myers to have access to devices to view all media files the state intends to use at the trial. Parvin filed a similar motion to withdraw as advisory counsel for the original set of charges. Parvin was originally assigned to defend Myers from the original set of 12 charges he faces. He remained as an advisory counsel after Myers was awarded the ability to represent himself as a pro se defendant. When Myers picked up a second set of charges, immediately after being arraigned for the first set of charges, Parvin was assigned the case with the intent that both sets of charges will be combined at some point. Myers had asked to fire Parvin at least once during recent court hearings, as he disagreed with Parvin's take on recent motion hearings. He also openly stated that as soon as the motions Parvin filed on his behalf were dealt with, he would be filing to take over the combined lawsuit from Parvin. It's unclear how much of Parvin's strategy will carry over to Myers' defense going forward. Parvin had planned on appealing Judge Metcalf's recent decision to declare a law governing aggravated assault unconstitutional, with Parvin requesting Myers' release while the appeal was being heard. Parvin's motion, involving withdrawing a request to cancel the hearing scheduled May 5, 2025, to determine if Myers is eligible for a second bond hearing, has been filed, but is not available as of press time. In support of that motion, Parvin was attempting to show that Myers is at a great disadvantage in his role as counsel for himself while incarcerated, based on Myers' questionable claims that he has been denied access to the electronic law library provided to all inmates. Parvin had argued for home release with specific conditions to govern Myers' behavior. Prosecutor Rachel Stiles interjected, responding to the idea of home confinement by reminding the court that releasing Myers had already been attempted, and he had picked up multiple new felonies within hours of his release on bond. It's unclear what the path forward is for the case at this time. The May 5 hearing to discuss the possibility of a bond hearing for Myers remains scheduled, despite the motion to withdraw the hearing. Theoretically, that hearing will be repurposed in order to handle Parvin's removal. Myers will remain in the Pima County Adult Corrections Facility until at least that date. The loss of Parvin is seen as a major blow to Myers' ability to defend himself. According to our courtroom observer, more often than not, Parvin was the sole voice of reason to keep Myers from damaging his own defense with outbursts and inappropriate behavior. At Monday's hearing, the struggle between the men was again apparent. Myers ignored even Judge Metcalf's attempts to rein in his instincts to talk over other participants in the trial and state his truths at all times, regardless of appropriateness. While a long shot, legal scholars saw Parvin's arguments as one of the bright spots for Myers' defense. Parvin's long-term plan to attempt to release Myers from jail while he appealed Metcalf's Monday rulings were solid, and even seemed to have traction with Judge Metcalf, who had set a date to consider the argument. Myers' friends and supporters were jubilant about Myers' decision. Myers had become YouTube famous for his wild antics and his outrageous behavior in lower courts, at one point making a claim of having Tourette's syndrome in order to be able to swear in lower courts while randomly insulting and degrading his opponents. Though his actual ability to cite law often borders on the same limited set of rulings that sovereign citizens and First Amendment auditors cling to, Myers' ability to make hearings such a chore for all participants, and his ability to break down the will of his opponents to follow through with a prosecution of him, is legendary. The next few months of hearings, even with a steady hand such as Judge Myers overseeing the proceedings, will be interesting at best, as Myers is expected to return to form in his solo defense. The minute order from Monday's media hearing was also released on Wednesday. In the order, Judge D. Douglas Metcalf made it clear that his ban on personal audio and video recording devices will continue throughout the course of Myers' trial. Known Myers associate Mark Brown had attempted to have Metcalf's standing rule against personal recording in his courtroom lifted on Monday's hearing. The ruling effectively wiped out any chances of non-authorized recording in the courtroom by Myers or his associates. Myers and his associates have been known to press the issue of personally recording their hearings, often audio broadcasting those hearings during the proceedings on YouTube. Judge Metcalf ruled that since he provides a public YouTube audio feed for his audience, there would be no need for independent recording of his courtroom. This is an ongoing news story. Small victory for DeCastro as hearings move again. YouTube viewers, please click the text link in the description of this video to access documents related to this news story. YouTuber, trifold pitchman, board game designer, and future gubernatorial candidate of an unspecified state, Jose Chille DeCastro got a minor victory on Wednesday as Judge H.J. Ford III declined to dismiss his California Superior Court lawsuit, but instead moved any actions on the lawsuit until the end of May. DeCastro is suing YouTuber Kate Peter, Michael Blue Bacon Peratini, and Team Skeptic, along with superfan Daniel Clement, for various largely unsubstantiated charges of harassment against him in 2022. The easily outraged YouTuber filed a last-minute request to have the lawsuit against Peratini, Skeptic, and Clement dismissed without prejudice, leaving the charges in place against Peter just days before the scheduled Wednesday sanctions hearing. DeCastro has apparently refused to drop the accusations against Peter, as he has a default on record by the court clerk against Peter. While Judge Ford has yet to hear the case for turning that default into a default judgment against Peter, DeCastro will be expected to present a case to show damages in order to earn monetary damages from that judgment. Without comment on DeCastro's new pattern of last-minute filings, the court moved Wednesday's hearings on sanctions and to set a trial date to May 29, 2025. Those hearings join an existing hearing on a motion for summary judgment previously scheduled for that date. DeCastro also dismissed his attorney, Stephen T. Jabellin, in a separate motion. The previous filed request for sanctions against Jabellin had also been withdrawn at Wednesday's hearing. Peratini's attorney, R. Paul Katranek, has indicated that he will be filing a motion to vacate or strike DeCastro's attempt at dismissal, which will also be heard during the May hearings. In his initial opposition to DeCastro's motion to dismiss the case, Katranek pointed out DeCastro's pattern of last-minute filings to significantly alter or delay proceedings. Katranek's frustration with DeCastro's actions were apparent as he wrote in his latest filing in the lawsuit. As the court knows, plaintiff has treated the discovery process with complete disdain, refusing to provide any evidence to support his frivolous claims against Mr. Peratini. In an attempt to understand what exactly plaintiff's claims against him actually are, Mr. Peratini propounded standard discovery requests to plaintiff. Rather than properly responding to Mr. Peratini's discovery requests, plaintiff chose to engage in gamesmanship and refused to provide any information or documents. Plaintiff has already been sanctioned for his conduct during discovery. Aside from his outright refusal to engage in discovery, plaintiff has made plain the true intentions behind this litigation, which are to make this case as expensive as possible for Mr. Peratini by running up Mr. Peratini's attorney's fees for entertainment purposes in connection with his YouTube channel, and to ruin Mr. Peratini professionally. Plaintiff has bombarded Mr. Peratini's counsel with emails regarding meritless motions and absurd stipulation requests, has filed frivolous motions with the court, and has screamed at Mr. Peratini's counsel and Judge Ford in court hearings. Plaintiff even refused to provide his address until ordered to do so by the court. Plaintiff's harassment of Mr. Peratini, as well as his mockery of the court and its proceedings, must come to an end. Plainly, plaintiff has provided no evidence to support his outlandish claims against Mr. Peratini and continues to refuse to engage in discovery. The fact that there is no evidence for plaintiff's claims, and Mr. Peratini therefore respectfully requests that the court vacate or strike plaintiff's 11th hour attempt to dismiss Mr. Peratini without prejudice, and enter an order that Mr. Peratini is dismissed with prejudice from this frivolous action to put an end to this waste of time, money, and court resources. Strangely, DeCastro's responses to Kaepernick's objections to DeCastro's attempt to dismiss the lawsuit have yet to be posted on the California Superior Court website. While listed in the queue, they are still unavailable for download. DeCastro has yet to comment on the case, or any of his other ongoing projects, including his missed deadline to create a GoFundMe for friend and jailed YouTuber Craig Hendry. With a lack of new GoFundMe for Hendry or any sort of promotion from DeCastro of Hendry's existing campaigns, these campaigns joined the majority of the market in drawing goose eggs for Thursday. Our own ongoing expenses campaign won the day with a $25 donation. Journalism in Crisis. Both ReallyCoolSite.org's daily newspaper and our daily newscasts are funded by your continuing donations and what we make from our YouTube AdSense revenue each month. If you'd like to contribute to help us with keeping the lights on, eating, feeding the cats, and writing news stories to feature on both the newspaper and newscast each day, we do have a GoFundMe set up. The URL is on your screen now. As real American and true protector of the First Amendment, Lane Myers has made multiple threats to sue us in recent days. Portions of all donations may also go towards fighting any possible future lawsuits. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch our entire videos, like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in. Reed admits to driving while buzzed, night of murder. Day 3 of Karen Reed's second trial for second-degree murder charges in relation to the 2022 death of Boston police officer John O'Keefe was cut short by confusion about the witness list, which resulted in an unexpected half-day of testimony. Thursday's hearings in the case again highlighted attacks on prosecution witnesses by the defense in their strategy to highlight differences between what witnesses testified at the grand jury hearings that resulted in the charges against Reed in 22, their testimony in the first trial last year, and their current testimony. The defense has accused witnesses of directly lying as their stories have changed over time. It is part of a larger strategy to paint Reed as the victim of an all-powerful conspiracy that framed Reed for murder committed by others as a revenge for rogue ATF agent Brian Higgins' failed romantic pursuit of Reed. That defense suffered a blow on Friday by both Reed's own words and the testimony of Mike Camerano, described as a good friend of Officer O'Keefe. Camerano testified that he was unaware of any problems between O'Keefe and Reed, and was unaware of the massive ongoing conflict between the pair that had played out over the last 36 hours of O'Keefe's life. Massachusetts State Police Trooper Nicholas Guarino then read text messages to the court from those 36 hours between Reed and O'Keefe. The pair had some sort of altercation that left O'Keefe apparently angry at Reed, and Reed questioning O'Keefe's commitment to the relationship. During the argument, Reed ignored O'Keefe's request for space, and O'Keefe was shown to have declined multiple phone calls from Reed as she attempted to get O'Keefe to agree to go out drinking the night of his death. When O'Keefe finally agreed to meet Reed for drinks, Reed hesitated at the last minute, blaming an issue with the hot water at her house and needing to wait for a plumber to arrive, as she did not want to be stuck at home without hot water during the pending snowstorm. Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan was allowed by Judge Beverly Cannoni for the third straight day to play snippets from various media interviews Reed had given over the past 3 years since O'Keefe's death. In snippets played surrounding Guarino's testimony, Reed admitted to having up to 9 drinks the night of O'Keefe's death, but claimed the vodka tonics were a weak pour. While she admitted she was buzzed when she left the two bars the couple visited that night, she claimed that she was not driving recklessly. Friday is scheduled for another half-day of testimony, as the prosecution is expected to put on witnesses for the morning session. The afternoon session is scheduled for a view, as jurors will be touring at least one site involved in the murder. An exclusion zone has been established, with the press and protesters set to remain at least 100 feet from the jury at the scene of the murder. Monday's schedule is also set for a half-day of testimony, as the afternoon session is set for a voir dire hearing in relation to the ARCA witnesses who testified in the original trial. There is some controversy surrounding those witnesses, as they were presented as independent when it was later revealed they had billed Karen Read's defense team for their expenses related to the first trial. There was more controversy surrounding the ARCA witnesses this week, as the defense refused to turn over text messages from the ARCA witnesses after being previously ordered to do so by Judge Cannoni. Those messages were later revealed to have been destroyed by the defense, despite requirements to retain those messages for multiple years. The possible exclusion of the ARCA witnesses could be a tremendous blow to the defense, as they were originally presented as witnesses independently obtained by the U.S. Attorney's Office investigation of the charges against Read. The U.S. Attorney's Office investigation resulted in no indictments of witnesses in the case, and was later dropped completely when those involved with the investigation were replaced during the transition from the Biden to the Trump administration. We will continue to provide commentary and live coverage on our YouTube channel for the duration of Karen Read's second trial.